Welcome everyone to the Fireside Football Chat, episode 16. In case you forgot, he's Jay, I'm Chip. We're here to talk football, have a little fun, throw our picks out, and see what happens.
Yeah, see if it sticks.
Yeah, right. So last week was a little goofy. I mean, there was one game on the college docket, and, I'll let you get into that. But I really don't have anything there's only obviously a few games this week. But if I have to say one thing, just to, because of this probably podcast, enjoying every minute of it and knowledge I've received from you and things, I just pay attention to Indiana a little bit more. And I would love to see them win outright against Notre Dame. Not making a pick, I just would love to see it. And that's all I got. That's all I would love to see it. It would be a nice, because you know what?
Sure.
We've seen it all this year because we made it to 16. So
That's right. We are here at 16, brother.
Tell me what you got, Jack.
Well, you know what? I'm going to start off with that Army-Navy game, okay? And, playing the Monday morning quarterback, if you will, is always an easy move. But it's interesting. And you talk about, every week, you get more and more information, right? Now, did I expect Navy to come out and clobber Army the way that it did? Certainly I did. Obviously, I picked Army -6.5, and I was wrong. So I didn't expect, even if Navy win, to do that. However, it is interesting how when teams are on somewhat level playing, when I say somewhat, a lot of times might be the build of those guys, whatever it is, are similar, right? But I did say that Army has some dudes. Well, obviously Navy does too. But one thing that I did not account for, and I should have accounted for, that was unprecedented territory for Army. Winning, remember they won the American Conference?
Yep.
They were sniffing themselves. They were sniffing the press. Not that the game, of course, means something very much more than we could ever know to those two teams. Absolutely. I don't want to go as far as say, they overlooked them. But sometimes, Chip, when you start sniffing the clippings, it can get a little soft.
No,
and
you
your
can.
mind can drift.
But how would you know that? That's hard. It's hard to put that in the equation.
100%.
Unless you're right in the middle of campus.
But I'll tell you right now, I didn't account for it.
No, I got you.
And I spun it the other way as, hey, they come off this big win. Now they're going to feel like they're. But you know what? Looking back on it, I could easily see how it could go that direction, right?
Now you can, of course.
You just won your conference, right? They might be newly in that conference for all I know. I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, you win the conference. You're thinking, I got this Commander-in-Chief trophy.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Not so much. And that's why I had mentioned last week, if you remember, folks, I had said a lot of times with those games, you can throw out the point spread. So kudos to Navy. Unfortunately, I was incorrect, but kudos to Navy. And something I'm going to be keeping in the old memory bank as we move forward.
Well, I liked Army too, Jay. I mean, looking at it, it did. I didn't dive into it as much as you did, but, every year I want Navy because of my dad. Because it doesn't matter to me, right, so to speak. But anyway, I looked at it, I'm like, that's Army -6.5 all day long. Based on what I
they
saw,
had shown
and then you go in a deeper dive, convince me even more that here we go. And
it is what it is. You don't get to make those what ifs.
No.
But it's something that, as I said, I'm going to store in the memory bank, and not only for that particular game, but other games moving forward.
Makes sense.
Potentially.
Okay.
The other one that thankfully I did get correct, thank goodness. Picked 2 games last week. This one I got right was the Bengals. However, they were throttling them, right? And I'm like, head on the pillow at halftime, like Joey Burrow lighting it up. And then all of a sudden they decided to go back to their old ways. And I think they scored it. I think the Titans scored at the very end of the game to make it like a 10-point game or something like that. It wasn't that I was worried like I wasn't going to cover. It was more about Oh, God.
This can
of
happen.
Course. Of
This
course.
can happen.
Now what, right?
Exactly.
But that I had the right side in the contest. You know, the Bengals were the right pick. They were just flat out better.
Without a doubt.
You can't count on the Bengals defense, that's for sure, but they were the better football team. So I'm going to roll into this week.
Okay.
As we turn our attention to this week, you would mention a certain squad on your send over. Okay. Just maybe teeing it up for me. With the old peg in the ground.
I wouldn't know, but I'm glad we're on the same page. I hope. I think.
Chip, I believe that the Hoosiers learned a valuable lesson playing at Ohio State. Okay. I know they were on the losing end of both the game and the cover when they played out at the Horseshoe. But the experience of playing against a high-caliber team such as Ohio State on their home turf, again, at Ohio State, I think is going to be invaluable for the players and coaches of the Hoosiers. One of the reasons I say that is because this game is at Notre Dame, okay? And we know Cignetti's a winner. I understand he lost that game.
Googling.
Just Googling, okay? First of all, I think it should be an awesome contest. I think it should be a really good game.
I hope so.
But I do believe that the Hoosiers have the offensive firepower. They not only to keep up with Notre Dame, but I think potentially forcing Notre Dame to play from behind. Listen, we all know what Notre Dame wants to do. They run the football. They do it well. They run the football with their running back and their quarterback. They want to control that time of possession, okay? But I'd like to see how they'd react if the Hoosiers get up, say, 14-0 on them. And what changes would the Hoosiers make? Because remember, they did get up on Ohio State. We're up on them. And then Ohio State kind of turned it around and made somewhat mincemeat of them. But I'd be curious to see, because Cignetti's a great coach. He really is a good coach. Be curious to see what changes he makes. Notre Dame, by the way, is ranked 65th or worse in 4 major passing statistical categories. The team, as I said, they run the football. They like to control the clock. They do score. Okay, so Notre Dame does score. But as I said, I'm curious to see how they would play if they somehow got down, say, 14-0. Because Indiana they can run and they can throw. They have a balanced attack, but they can score.
I think that balanced Big Ten whole thing is going to serve them well.
I think you're right. I really don't think that this is going to be a contest where Coach Cignetti's just going to play this tight and scared. He wants to win. Make no bones about it. But you and I both know, Indiana, in the playoff, this man's playing with pure house money.
Oh, without a doubt.
Pure house money. I mean, those people, well, they gave him a contract extension already. So, again, he wants to win. This man has not slept much since his last game and is preparing to win. But that team can play free and loose. So that said, if the Hoosiers turn the ball over, yes, they're going to be in trouble. But that's usually the way it works. Most coaches talk about the number one most telling statistics. But if they don't, and they can manage to go turnover free, or even, I'll say this, even if they can win the turnover battle, that's where they have a real shot. As I said, they're balanced. They can run and they can throw the football. And I think that is where they're going to give Notre Dame some fits, is that balance. Both teams, by the way, are pretty healthy. All right, so the health piece, they're both pretty healthy. Some argue that Curtis Rourke, the quarterback for the Hoosiers, is actually the best quarterback in the Big Ten. I know you got a couple other big guns in there, but when I looked at his stats, I'm like, ooh, they may be right. And you all know, as a Penn State fan, I put Drew Aller pretty high up on that pedestal.
Should.
But this guy's got some stats. He can play. So I think that guy's obviously out to prove something on Friday night, right? And I think he's got the potential to get this done. Now, as I said earlier, Notre Dame loves to run the football, but they are going up against the number 1 ranked rush defense in the country. Okay. The Hoosiers, they're giving up only 70.8 yards per game rushing.
Right there.
Big deal. Okay. It's going to be mono on mono.
No,
strength on strength,
can't
brother.
wait. I can't wait to see it. Let me guess what channel that's on.
The Hoosiers' defense is incredibly physical, and when Riley Leonard, that's Notre Dame's quarterback, gets his number called for design runs, the Hoosiers will be out to punish him. I'm not saying he's not going to get his. Listen, he's been doing it all year. Okay, it's not that you're going to stop them, but I can guarantee you, when that guy gets out of that pocket and starts running, the Hoosiers will be bringing the wood. Like, they're going to be out to punish him. And that's where they've got to be smart. Fine line. You don't get thrown out of this game.
No.
Right? So, yeah, but I think it's going to be a little extra when he gets out of that, but to make him think about it. When are you going to make this move? What are you going to do? We'll see.
Exactly.
Chip, I've laid out all the details. I've supported it with some statistical evidence, my friend, and Curtis Work and the Fighting Signettis, I believe, are going to go into South Bend and get themselves, you ready for it? A victory. Yeah, that is correct. You heard it correct, folks. Although Indiana is getting 7.5 points.
So we're on the same page.
Not only do they cover, but they win the game.
I like that.
Outright.
I like that.
Outright.
I like it. Because you know what? I just would love to see that. And I think it's going to come down to coaching.
Yep.
That's what it's going to come down to.
It is. It's going. I think you're right. It's
And
probably going to be.
it's
probably going to be a tight contest, but I just don't sleep on Indiana, and they have an excellent coach. And if you don't think that they didn't learn a little bit from that experience at the Horseshoe, then you haven't followed this man.
Absolutely.
My other college game. It sickens me to do this.
No, you're not.
It sickens me.
Really?
I am. Okay, I am. I know it could go either way on this. Ohio State minus 7.5 at home against Tennessee. Let me tell you what, the fire in Ryan Day's belly burns deep after losing to his rival up north. You want to talk about a guy that has dedicated every second of his day for the last 3 weeks to making sure his team is prepared as possible for this contest? I'm talking about that. That man has gotten very little sleep. I can assure you that. You're going to see the Buckeyes come out fired up. And here's what I think is going to happen, Chip. I do believe that he has to show, the people have spoken, he has to show that he's going to do the right thing here. What is the right thing? The right thing is what my Nittany Lions did against Oregon. And I know it didn't bring them a victory, but Penn State come out and they passed to set up the run. That's what they did. They threw the football to set up the run. Ohio State, I think, is going to do the same thing. I don't think it's going to be the case of Ryan Day trying to prove to Michigan that, we're going to play a physical brand of football and run it down your throat. Well, down your throat meant the middle of their defense, where they have 2 potential first-round draft picks. So hopefully you learned a little lesson there.
That's right.
Dr. Day. Bottom line here, Chip, Ryan Day can't afford to lose this game. Honestly, if he loses this game, that might be it.
I was going to say that. He's probably going to go off the cliff.
He may be
Division
run right out of town. The entire state of Ohio might explode.
Yeah.
Firemen are going to need to be on watch.
I would love to see
lose.
it.
Right. Yeah, but hey, just say it.
Yeah,
Right. So in this case, I think that if we look at the defenses, both teams have good defenses, by the way. Both Tennessee and Ohio State. I think Ohio State's is a little bit better, but they do have both. They both have good defenses. But I do think the Buckeyes quarterback, the linebackers, they're going to be able to contain that quarterback. I think it's Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback for Tennessee. He started off pretty hot. And I'm not saying that he's played bad, but he's cooled down a little bit. Kind of leveled off a little bit. And I think that you're going to see more of that in this game. Tennessee, listen, they're probably going to put a fight up early, but I think the Buckeyes are going to pull away, particularly in the fourth quarter. I think they're going to pull away in the fourth quarter and win comfortably by 2 touchdowns. Don't be afraid, folks, please. Don't be afraid of that 7.5. That might seem like a big number, pretty closely ranked teams here. Don't be afraid of it. This is not going to be the same Ohio State team that lost to the Wolverines for the 4th time in a row.
Wow.
Just saying. Okay.
Wow.
I see the Ohio State coaches and players unleashing their inner Sparta on the Volunteers in Tennessee, as they have plenty of backing from the lubed up Buckeye faithful. You know that'll be the case. Going absolutely bonkers for this 8 p.m. Yes, that's right, Chip. 8 p.m. contest at the Shoe. I think it could be close, like I said in the first half, but I think because so much is riding on this for Ryan Day, I think he's going to do the right thing and get those 3 stud receivers involved. What is that? Cornell, Ibuka, Tate, and then that stud freshman, Jeremiah Smith. He's going to get those guys involved. So that's it for I went with 2 college picks this week, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to on to the pros.
Okay.
And, well, my Eagle brethren, faithful out there. The Eagles, last I checked, were -3.5 at Washington. The Commanders, I'm not sure if you know this, but they have a little trouble stopping the run. And this 11-2 Eagle squad is not the team to throw a paltry run defense at. They're also having trouble getting after the quarterback, believe it. This makes for a tough combination. And you might say to yourself, how the heck are they 9-5? That's going to come up in a moment.
Okay.
Give me time. So to me, if they're having difficulty stopping the run and they're having trouble getting after the quarterback, that sounds like it could be a glorious day for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley. The Commanders have not beaten a team with a winning record yet this season. Okay, so I reference back, to that my comment about like maybe this is a little bit of a fraudulent 9-5 team potentially. They have had some good wins. They have, but lately, and then when you look at it, you go, oh, wait a minute, they haven't. That gets a little fuzzy.
Then why is my question? But go ahead.
Yep. So
then why?
The Birds will close out the NFC East by winning this game handily. I have to tell you, Chip, I was certainly shocked myself. I know where you're going with this. When I saw the line at -3.5, potentially where you were going with it, I figured it was somewhere around 6.5 to 7. I really did. Washington has been squeezing by teams. Now, they've been winning. They have been winning, but they've been squeezing by teams that really they should have throttled. The Birds are hungry to close out the NFC East, beat the Cowboys next week, and then rest their players in the final game of the season against the Giants. Jalen Daniels has slowed down in the second half this year, and the flourishing Eagles defense, I think, are going to feast on this man. So, folks, lambaste the Birds, -3.5 at Washington, and get that significant other something real special. After all, it is the holidays.
It's the holiday season?
Yes, it is.
And whoop-de-doo.
And a whoopity-doo, my friend. So that is it for me, folks, and I'm going to turn it over to, as I've stated many times, our NFL aficionado, Chip.
Okay. Well, Jay, I told you I had a fun fact that I was going to save for the pro side of it, I guess. Well, I always mix them out anyway, but since I didn't have any college picks. But anyway, I was looking at different things, and because of I look at things to pick games, I want to say something before this, is I looked at the Giants-Falcons game. Okay. As in, all of a sudden, Kirk Cousins gets benched, and they're bringing in Penix Jr., So I'm like, I'm taking whoever that is, but it's the Giants, and I couldn't do that because here's a fun fact. It's not my fun fact, but the Giants are number 32 in the power rankings. I love to see it. But with what I just said about the Falcons benching Kirk Cousins, the fun fact is...
Same guy that had 4 touchdown passes in at least one game this year.
Well...
But I get it. I understand.
Week 9 versus the Cowboys, they beat Dallas. They were 6-3. And then they struggled after that. Now, there's something... Listen, I'm not telling you I was ever a Kirk Cousins fan. But the guy...
I think they went out and played Las Vegas.
Never got guaranteed money. Plays for, 30, 35 million every year, whatever it is. And still, like, how many years has he been doing that? He's got to be loaded. But after week 9 against the Cowboys, maybe the Cowboys did something. But this is getting to because he struggled. I mean, struggled. Like something's wrong.
Mightily.
Like something's in his head. He got hit in the head. Maybe he can cut. Or his Achilles. Yep. Maybe he'll be back next year for the MVP. But
he could be.
I'm assuming that if they're putting Penix Jr. in, that Kirk Cousins will not be with Atlanta after March because of the contract. So here comes the fun fact. Now think about this.
Let's hear it.
The Falcons would have invested $90 million for 14 weeks of action. Think about that. $90 million for 14 weeks. Now, again,
the NFL,
but it's okay
money.
with them because
Prince money.
That's right. But the fact is, they're going. I think what I heard, $27 million against the cap next year, which is really nothing for a quarterback, especially if you're paying a rookie on a second-year deal. But the thing is, that contract doesn't bother me eating them as much as the ones like Watson, $250 million, $250 million that they're done. Like those kind of ones. Like, why can't everybody play like Cousins then? You get big money for 2-3 seasons, maybe one's guaranteed, maybe two's whatever. But $90 million for 14 weeks of action. So,
chew on that.
Exactly. So, last week, I picked a game for fun. Well, it won. It was probably my second week in a row, which I like to have the put your head on a pillow games. Mm-hmm. But I had the over/under in the Buffalo and Detroit game. So it was an easy route. But as I was rooting probably indirectly for the guys that would bring up my demise in our fantasy football matchup last week.
Jeez, yeah.
Shine Box Nation against Chester Cheetah. He had Golf and Amon St. What's his name? Aaron St. Whatever. You know his name because all I got to say, I'm rooting for points. 90 points they scored in that game, and the over-under was 54.5. It was just nice to see.
Yeah, it was just a back and forth.
Exactly. So,
match.
As we get into this, by the way, must-see game is tomorrow night. Denver and the Chargers. That's a must-see game. They're battling right there.
Denver. The Sunshine State.
That's right. That's right. As I'm ready to go in there and make my picks, I just can't help but looking back on what I've been talking about week after week the last 3 weeks prior. Kansas City goes to Carolina. Double digits. Can't cover. Carolina goes into Philly. Double digits. Philly can't cover, who arguably Philly, again, is the best team in the NFC now based on Detroit's injuries and things like that. But those two are the top.
That's for sure.
So Philly can't cover at home double digits when you thought that, again, should have been at least 2 touchdowns. But then you get the Dallas Cowboys go in to Carolina and get 2.5 points. And guess what? Ooh. They could have covered the spread of the 2 previous teams that I discussed. That doesn't make sense to me.
It was Hammertown.
No, I looked at that and I said to myself, I try not to be a homer, and you'll see in a minute. But I try not to be a homer for myself and pick the Cowboys. I'm like, that game right there, the Cowboys are going to either win outright or going to cover this. It's going to be a tight game. And they won by over 2 touchdowns. So there you go.
Yeah, and you know what I thought right away as I was watching that game and seeing it unfold? I'm like, this is the swings, right? Like, I know they didn't win the game against the Eagles, right? But they gave them a fight.
Yeah.
People argued, like, there were some people that said that the Eagles should have lost that game, would-haves, could-haves, and should-haves.
Yeah,
but
right.
put up a good fight. And I wonder, like, you know, we go back to smelling yourself. You're in the stink pot. You stink. You stink for a while. Then you work your way out eventually. People start, I don't know if it's fair to say singing your praises as a team, but you start talking about Chuba Hubbard, right? You start talking about the quarterback who had crapped the bed in the beginning of the year, and people are now like, wow, Bryce Young's, he's playing a little bit better. I'm telling you, man, there's something about that reading the clippings and smelling yourself that happens.
No, I'm with you.
In both college and the pro. And there's an effect. If you let your guard down, and we have no idea whether it happened, just a little bit, especially in the NFL, any team.
No, without a doubt.
If you're like, we don't really, I know this doesn't happen, but maybe it's on a lesser level. Well, we don't really need to prepare as much. We don't need to put as much into
subconsciously.
That game plan.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Don't need to go put as much in that game plan. Don't need, forget about it.
Well,
I'm not saying that's what they did, but like, you start smelling yourself a little. Now you think you're a little better. Big old Mike Parsons come around that corner in Houston. We got a problem.
He's pretty quick.
We got a problem.
Well, that goes with what I was going to say, too, is, you know, Carolina's playing better, but the Cowboys are, too.
The Dallas is playing better.
Well, but because they got their defense back, even though they lost Diggs again.
I do like
the
way
game.
They've shuffled that offensive line.
And
I actually like their current setup.
They're starting to do that. And with that being said, of paying attention to it, and it's not that I'm not convinced, but who are you beating? So I'm just glad, as in the way we were getting our tails kicked, blowed out at home for the longest, how many weeks in a row, and then all of a sudden, at least you got to win.
Yep.
They're enjoyable to watch instead of me being ticked off every week and do Jerry rants.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Figured out they got to give the football to
That's
Dallo.
right.
I mean,
That's
Dr.
right.
Dallo, like, hey.
But I picked him on fantasy because I said he could be good, and he's not bad. He's close to.
I was that close to picking him, and I should have.
Yeah.
I should have grabbed him.
So, with that being said, let's go into some picks, Jay.
Here we go. Get the old magic 8-ball rolling.
Yeah. But there's another game I want you to keep an eye on. Pittsburgh-Baltimore. Why is that line 6.5? That is too easy to take Pittsburgh. Too easy to take Pittsburgh. And if you look at Baltimore's games and close, and they lost to Pittsburgh.
I know.
And
it's such a rivalry.
It's too easy. It's in Baltimore. It's too easy to take Pittsburgh. But I just keep an eye on that game, because to me that would say Baltimore all day long. But
I wonder if Philly beat them up.
That's what I was thinking that too. So I think that this week somebody's going to get rattled. Somebody's going to get rattled, and I think that. Going to, I'm assuming, I didn't even dig into it, that Spencer Rattler is going into Lambeau for the first time in his career in the frozen tundra.
The former Gamecock, okay.
And it's a big line, Jay. Jeez. It's 2 touchdowns. But the Saints, they don't have a prayer. Green Bay wants to be in the bigger, thicker things. I love Green Bay at home right before Christmas. Against the Rattler.
Oh, the Rattler.
Green Bay -14 against the visiting Saints.
Who dat?
Yeah, who was it? Is what's going to happen.
The Who Dat Nation.
It says, concentrate and ask again. We're not going to waste too much time. Maybe I'll massage it. I forgot I was told to do that.
Quick masseuse.
There you go. It says this time, yes, definitely. So there we go.
Yes, definitely, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's
for, sometimes it's against.
Exactly.
We'll take
it. It's agreeing this time, because we're going to go with the rattled theme. So next thing you know, we got a team that's in the mix. They need to win. They've been, to me, a disappointing season on what I thought that I thought that they would be in the mix, but Miami. We've talked about them many times in the podcast. Can't get off the porch. Can't get out of the driveway. Can't do anything. We have concussion, CTE.
And they make their way out of the driveway and the porch for a while. I know.
And their games haven't made sense. The ones they're winning, the ones they're losing. But there's a team that's coming into town that played in the Super Bowl last year, and they have taken it on the chin a lot this year. A lot of injuries, not on the same page. They had a guy walk off the field in the third quarter. But San Fran's coming to town to get to visit Miami right before Christmas.
You want to talk
what a vacation that's going to be.
You want to talk about a mass unit.
Yeah.
Oh, San Fran. Wow. Hammered with the injury.
That's right. And I like Miami -1. That means they just have to, if they win the game 21-20, it's a push and whatever, but it's almost you can't lose if they win. It's almost a pick 'em. So I just think that they have to win the game. They're going to do it. So San Fran has nothing to play for. They're out of it. That's it. Close the curtain. Someone go with Miami -1.
Put the gasoline in the garage.
That's right. You're done. And it says very doubtful. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, it's just merely for tracking purposes.
Exactly. What does the 8 ball know? So, I actually have 2 other games down here. I'm going to just pick one and then kind of tell you to pay attention because it could be another one of those fun games. But like I said, not being convinced about the Cowboys. Not that they don't have anything to play for either. But the other team does, and that's Tampa Bay. And I probably would have never looked at this game, but I saw what they did to San Diego. And I keep calling them San Diego, but I had the Chargers. I thought they're coming into our house. Jim's talking about not sleeping. We're not going to lose it. And they just got railroaded. So I was like, wow, that's a little weird. But Tampa Bay must be for real because they're back. Because they lost their guys, then they bowed their way back, now they could be.
At least they
could be in the thick of things, and they are going into Dallas. They're giving Dallas 4 points. Yes, Dallas has won. Like I said, made things a little funner, week by week. But that game's at 8:20 Sunday night, so that's going to be a primetime game. And Dallas usually plays well in primetime like that Sunday nights, but I just think that Tampa has to win it, and they're going to go in, and
I think Baker's going to give them the business, huh?
I think so. That's a -4 game. So I just they're a better team than the ones that Dallas has been playing with, the Carolinas, the Giants, and I forget the other one.
The step up in competition might come back might get in there.
Little bit.
Didn't ride the easy train for a few weeks.
A little bit.
Potentially.
Yeah. So it's it is what it is. So it says my reply is no. So they think the Cowboys are going to cover the 4.
Interesting.
So yeah. So that might be a good game, especially with Dallas playing better.
I wonder when that 8 ball is going to say, please throw me in the fire.
Exactly. I think we're a couple weeks away from that.
Yeah, we are a couple weeks away, and we just might have to make that happen.
That's right. And as promised, keep an eye on the Browns-Bengals over 47. I mean, Bengals, no defense.
Man, they score.
Both of them have nothing to play for. That's why I didn't want to really make that part of it. I like to, this time of the year, pick something that somebody's looking to play for something.
Where's the game at? Cincy? It might be. I think I did look at that game.
I think, yeah. I just think that's going to be, that division game that they just go, all right, let's run it up. 47. I mean, 30-20 does it, right?
I got to tell you, Jerry Jeudy, man, what? Whew.
Yeah.
Once since crab legs came in.
Exactly.
It's been a Jerry Jeudy feast.
That's right. And the beauty of it, too, is if Jeudy isn't feasting and Brother Jameis decides that he wants to throw a pick 6, that helps the over 47.
Well, right?
Yeah.
He helps the offense and the defense. That's the beauty of good old famous Jameis.
And it's going to be what? 25th, 24th, 23rd, December 22nd. He could be the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, couldn't it
right?
be,
So keep an eye on that game. I really do like the over on that.
Clark.
Yeah, exactly. So
all year long.
That's right. So there we have it.
I'll have to get him a little ticket to the Jelly of the Month Club.
There you go. There you go. At least have some oranges or something when they come into fruition. But anyway, with that being said, we have Mr. Monday Night coming.
Mr. Monday Night.
Let's see what he has.
Hey, jingity jing, it's Dominic the donkey. Jingity jing, the Italian Christmas donkey. La 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 la.
Greetings, sports fans. It's the Christmas edition of Mr. Monday Night, brought to you exclusively by the Fireside Football Chat. Well, we made it. Christmas time is upon us. And what a gift we have this Monday night. We got the New Orleans Saints headed to the Green Bay Packers. Christmas time at Lambeau Field. The line is the Packers are laying 14.5 points. Wow. What do we do with this game? Ay. Normally not a big fan of playing games that are over 2 touchdowns, but again, this is what Mr. Monday Night does. Packers are averaging over 30 points a game. Their last 5 games are really on fire. They just crushed the Seahawks last week. And the Saints, well, they're down to Spencer Rattler at quarterback. Their season's over. They know it. Don't expect them to play very hard. So I guess I'm going to hold my nose. We're going to take the Packers. We're going to lay the points. See you at the window. And on behalf of myself and my family, I appreciate everybody that's listened to this little venture that we've been doing here this year. Thank you so much. Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
There it is, Jay. Another wrap. 16 weeks in the books. Right before Christmas.
16.
That's right.
16.
That's right.
Candles.
16. That's 16. And should be interesting. Isn't there games on Christmas this year? Did I see that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think there is games.
Yeah.
Wait,
which is
did
kind
the
of
Eagles
weird.
play on Christmas?
2 games? Because that's a Wednesday. That's weird.
Yeah, it is. It is weird.
You know?
Man, we got all kinds of weirdness. I saw there were bowl games playing this week.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you forget about it's easy to forget about the bowl games, right? Because the playoff is now expanded to 12.
That's right.
There's so much going on
Exactly.
about these 12 teams, and you had Army Navy last week, but like, oh yeah, that's right. There's bowl games going on too.
Did you see some of the names of them? They're a little even weirder too. And the teams that are in them, you can tell that they have nothing to play for.
Yeah, well, and then what happens is these guys all opt out.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. It's hard to pick. Careful picking those bowl games. You better have
your
some
homework.
have some inside information, because those are scenarios where even last minute guys are like,
No,
you know what? I'm not
absolutely.
gonna
It's not
play.
what it used to be.
It's not like, all right, well, I'll let the coach know a few weeks out. And in fairness to the coach, some of these guys are like last minute.
No, I got you.
They talk to an agent,
Yep.
right, because of the portal now.
Somebody
You
gets
got
in
the
their
portal
ear,
window
yeah.
open to the 28th. Somebody gets in their ear. Basta.
Oh, absolutely.
So those games are really hard to pick.
Well, and like I said, I was looking for a game. So maybe I'll pick a college game. No, there's not a lot, but I had to look at the dates because they're all staggered, and you want to make sure, obviously, for your viewing purposes, we're on the right spot. So, with that being said, Jay, 16 in the book.
1-6.
We'll see you next week.
All right, gang.
Thanks for coming.